Minutes. I'm here at Gold's Gym in Venice, California, training glutes and hammies today. 3 weeks out from the Excalibur, so we're trying to get them nice and ripped. So I warmed up today with the laying leg curl. Purpose of that was really just to get some blood in my hamstrings. Of course, you want to be warmed up so you don't pull anything, but also I like to really wake my hamstrings up, make sure I get a good feeling in them, so when I move on to the next lift, which is deadlifts, I'm really focusing on squeezing the muscle I'm trying to train fit. So I move into deadlifts. It's something I used to go really heavy in, 1 to 2 reps. I used to compete in powerlifting. Now that my focus is bodybuilding, I've really increased the number of reps. I like to fail around 10 reps now. Now, of course, to fail at 10 reps, I need about 500 or so pounds, so you really have to warm up properly. So I warmed up with 225 and 315 up to 405, and then I moved into my big pull, which is 500 for 10, and then I did one more 6 or 7, also again with 500. And because I pre-exhausted a little with those leg curls, I was really able to squeeze those hamstrings and pull the glutes in it a little bit too, and get a nice burn in there. So the straight leg or Romanian deadlifts, as it can be called, I finish after I do my standard deadlifts. And here I'm really able to get a stretch. You can see I don't bend my knees quite as much. I keep a little bend in there to keep myself safe. And the top portion of the movement, I really work on squeezing my hands and then into my glutes. And by the end of this set, my glutes are really, really on fire. And this work is to get the striations in my glutes like we're looking for on stage. Then I move on to the seated leg curl. Here I'm going higher reps, really trying to focus on getting the sweep in my ham. Now I've done a little lower rep range on the early exercises. Now that high reps to make sure I hit every muscle fiber. All right, I'm going to superset that into a leg press. Now normally you see leg press, people are trying to work on their quads. Now, since my hamstrings are so pre-exhausted, I'm going to really be able to feel it and focus on my hamstrings. And every press, I'm squeezing my glutes and I'm squeezing my hamstrings, focusing on relaxing my quads so everything happens in the back of my leg. You also notice I go nice and deep, and that gives me a stretch in my hamstrings throughout the entire movement. All right, I'm going to round everything out with what we affectionately call the yes-no machine. That's where we work the adductors, and it really hits that outer end of your glutes. Again, I'm high reps here. I'm working on striations. I don't need to make my butt any bigger. I just need to get a little bit more shape out of this. Here I do 3 sets, and I finish my last set with drop sets, dropping about 4 plates each set until I can't move my legs anymore. So as I'm 3 weeks out from the Excalibur, the focus has really been now on the last piece of the shape. That means cutting back on fat, getting rid of water. What the last 9 weeks have been is really making sure I maintain my size, keep my diet really clean. I set an alarm. I do eat every about 2.5 hours, keeping my carbs very, very high, about 400 grams of carbs a day. Total caloric intake is about 4,500 calories. Now this week, at week 3, I've dropped my caloric intake to about 3,500 calories. Since my body requires about 4,200 calories to maintain my body weight, that means I'm going to lose a pound or 2 a week, which will get me right on point for what I'm looking for the Excalibur, hoping to weigh in at about 220 pounds. Now, as far as training goes, that's starting to change. I'm going higher rep, working on striations, and also at a point, since I'm at a caloric deficit, that I want to make sure I don't hurt myself. So real heavy weight just isn't in the cards right now. Can't risk hurting myself. It's been 9 weeks of intense training. It would be a real disappointment to lose all that work right at the end by some sort of quad adductor, chest, lat pull here right at the finish line. Stay tuned to musculardevelopment.com. I got lots more